Miracle of Russia throws American and European elites into total panic. March 22, 2017. By Sorcha Faal, and as reported to her Western subscribers. A very interesting Ministry of Finance, MOF, report circulating in the Kremlin today is warning the Security Council, SC, to expect swift retribution from the West after the latest Miracle of Russia accomplishment of paying off the entire debt owed by the former Soviet Union is due to occur within 45 days, and that has thrown the entire elite structure of both the Americans and Western Europeans into total panic should their citizens discover what the Federation's nationalistic monetary policies have been able to achieve. Note, some words and/or phrases appearing in quotes in this report are English language approximations of Russian words, phrases having no exact counterpart. According to this report, Miracle of Russia is a term used to describe the Christian-based nationalistic monetary policies enacted in the Federation after the cruel yoke of Antichrist and demonic globalization was thrown off the Russian people following the catastrophic collapse of the economy in 2008 to 2009, and that many in the West predicted would lead to the complete destruction of the Russian economy. As Western laws now clash with the moral nature of man, this report continues, President Putin in his actions to exterminate the heresy of the new globalization religion from the Federation struck out against the West and declared that policies are being pursued that place on the same level a multi-child family and a same-sex partnership, a faith in God and a belief in Satan. This is the path to degradation, while at nearly the same time, President Barack Obama declared about America, "We are no longer a Christian nation." So successful, in fact, has President Putin used Christian morality to create the Miracle of Russia? This report notes that it is now being said in America that the Federation is now the sum of all their liberal leftist elitists' worst fears, the Christian coalition with nukes. To how astonishingly the Miracle of Russia has revived the economy of the Federation and brought it back from the ruins of globalization, this report explains, is evidenced in Russia now having a national debt of only $150.5 billion that equates to a mere $1,029 per citizen, as compared to the United States whose staggering debt is $20 trillion, equating to a shocking $879,989 per citizen, and the European Union's debt of $13.5 trillion. And that equates to an equally shocking $26,519 per citizen. With the EU facing a population disaster due to its plummeting birth rate, and the United States declaring also this past year that its falling birth rate is now a national emergency, this report notes, the Miracle of Russia has triumphantly led the Federation to have the highest birth rate in all of Europe, and whose future productive and moral citizens will be able to benefit from the Federation's $75.7 trillion in natural resource wealth that is the greatest in all the world. With both the US and EU fearing their citizens learning about the Miracle of Russia, and the Christian morality underlying it to make it possible, MOP experts in this report state, they launched what is called the most blatant coup in history against Ukraine to install in power a neo-Nazi government with their knowing the Federation would have no choice but to respond against, as the last time Russia faced a Nazi regime, World War II, over 26.6 million of its citizens were killed. Rather than taking over all of Ukraine, however, this report continues, Federation military forces in the face of this blatant coup minimized their actions to only protect Russian peoples under direct threat of extermination from the newly installed neo-Nazi regime, but to which, in November 2014, the West retaliated against by placing sanctions on Russia. By employing the Miracle of Russia economic policies in the face of these Western sanctions, though, this report details, the Federation was able to allot $76 billion to its domestic food supply, and through other such measures has further enhanced its long-term economic security, so much so, in fact, that even America's top credit rating agency Standard & Poor's was grudgingly forced, on the 17th of March, to revise its outlook on Russia to positive from stable and affirmed the Federation's sovereign credit ratings and, likewise, today, revised their outlook on 13 Russian companies to positive. With the miracle of Russia being an unstoppable success at destroying the myths of globalization in favor of Christian moralistic-backed nationalistic economy measures, this report continues, the elite forces in the West have responded by launching the most vitriolic campaigns of Russian hysteria the modern world has ever seen, and that includes the UK tabloid The Mirror creating a fake news story this week about the traditional Russian festival of Maslenitsa, celebrated during the last week before Lent, and warning that their citizens are about to be killed. Fake Russian hysteria news. Maslenitsa participants, not football fans, celebrating ancient Christian ritual of good versus evil. Even worse, this report notes, are the now daily news stories appearing throughout the US and EU warning of the grave dangers posed by Kremlin-connected oligarchs, which is term used to describe Russia's 97 billionaires, while at the same time they're failing to inform their own citizens of the over 992 oligarch billionaires in their own nations, which one would logically think the citizens of the West have a right to know about, as the European Union has already been declared an oligarchy. Government by the few, and the United States too, when in 2014, a study by Princeton University Professor Martin Gilens and Northwestern University Professor Benjamin Gravely declared that America was no longer a democracy, but an oligarchy benefiting only the elites. Of the very few peoples in the West acknowledging the miracle of Russia and how it has destroyed the evils of the new globalization religion, this report explains, is the American President Donald Trump, who, like President Putin before him, knows the true value of a nation returning to its moral Christian roots to achieve economic security, but whose elite deep state leftist Liberal Democratic Party enemies have now joined with their Republican Party neo-conformer foes to destroy him, and who some experts suggest need some antipsychotic medication before their heads explode. And so absolutely insane have these globalist elite enemies against the miracle of Russia, and now President Trump, in the US and EU become, this report says, Russian gas is now being shipped through Ukraine to Slovakia and, after traveling a few hundred meters, reversed from the back into Ukraine, with the higher price for this Slovakian gas being funded by loans from Western banks guaranteed by the World Bank in order so they can say that the Federation isn't making as much money as it used to. In the face of such madness from these Western elites desperately trying to keep the miracle of Russia from being known to their citizens, and they're fearing that President Trump is going to implement similar Christian-based economic policies for the United States, this report continues, they have now begun to attack America's new leader by falsely claiming that he's working for Russia, and that in reply to this week's U.S. Congress hearing on this issue, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov could only state, the hearing participants are apparently confused about the situation. They are trying to find confirmation of their own assumptions somewhere but are failing to do that, to find any proof, and just go around every time. And while President Trump's deep state enemies keep going around in circles trying to find proof of something that doesn't exist, this report says, their leftist fake news propaganda mainstream media allies continue to keep from the American people that Trump's stating that former President Obama wiretapped him is 100% true, as all phone calls in the United States are recorded and stored, and that the whole world has known all about since 2013 when Edward Snowden's top-secret U.S. files were made public. Known as Project Dragnet, this report explains, the NSA has, in fact, built a massive $1.7 billion computer storage facility in Utah to hold the phone calls and emails of all Americans, and whose recently released secret documents prove Trump and his family were under constant surveillance by the Obama regime, and that one of Trump's most insane critics, the actor Shia LaBeouf, inadvertently revealed the existence of during a live television broadcast, in 2008, when he told how the FBI was able to pull up the phone calls of anyone they wanted and listen to them. as to if President Trump will be able to duplicate the miracle of Russia to restore the United States to its former greatness, like President Putin has done for Russia, this report concludes, is presently not known. But if these demonic globalist religious fanatics are to be defeated once and for all, it can only be done by making America great again, and then the rest of the world will follow. March 22, 2017. Copyright EU and US, all rights reserved. Permission to use this report in its entirety is granted under the condition it is linked back to its original source at whatdoesitmean.com. Freebase content licensed under CC BY and GFDL. www.whatdoesitmean.com web link. Note: many governments and their intelligence services actively campaign against the information found in these reports so as not to alarm their citizens about the many catastrophic earth changes and events to come, a stance that the Sisters of Sorcha Faal strongly disagree with, in believing that it is every human being's right to know the truth. Due to our mission's conflicts with that of those governments, the responses of their agents has been a long-standing misinformation, misdirection campaign designed to discredit us, and others like us, that is exampled in numerous places, including here. Note: the whatdoesitmean.com website was created for and donated to the Sisters of Sorcha Faal in 2003 by a small group of American computer experts led by the late global technology guru Wayne Green, 1922 to 2013, to counter the propaganda being used by the West to promote their illegal 2003 invasion of Iraq. Note: the word Kremlin, fortress inside a city, as used in this report refers to Russian citadels, including in Moscow, having cathedrals wherein female schema monks, Orthodox nuns, reside, many of whom are devoted to the mission of the Sisters of Sorcha Faal.